The forest was quiet, the kind of silence that only the deep woods could offer. The towering trees stretched endlessly, their branches swaying gently in the breeze. Among these ancient giants, a creature moved with the grace and power that belied its massive frame. This was the domain of Bigfoot, a creature that had lived in these woods for longer than any human could remember. The forest was his sanctuary, a place where he was the master of all he surveyed. Bigfoot paused in a clearing, his keen senses alert to the subtle changes in the environment. Something was different. The birds were silent, and the usual sounds of the forest were absent. A strange scent lingered in the air, metallic and unnatural. He had felt this disturbance for days, a growing presence that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. He had lived through many seasons, faced many dangers, but this was something new. As he moved silently through the trees, his massive feet barely making a sound on the forest floor, Bigfoot knew he was being watched. He could feel eyes on him, cold and calculating. He had encountered humans before, but this was different. This presence was not human. It was something far more dangerous. In a hidden lab deep within the mountains, far from prying eyes, a team of scientists monitored the progress of their latest creation. The project was known as Hades, an AI-powered robot designed for one purpose: to hunt and eliminate threats. Originally developed for military use, Hades was a prototype that had never seen combat. But now, the project had been repurposed. Rumors of a creature living in the forests, a creature that had eluded capture and study for centuries, had reached the ears of those in power. They wanted proof, and more importantly, they wanted control. The lead scientist, Dr. Emily Rourke, watched the screens intently as Hades moved through the forest, its sensors scanning for any sign of movement. The robot was humanoid in shape but far from human in appearance. It was a sleek, silver machine, standing over 7 feet tall, with reinforced limbs designed for strength and speed. Its eyes were a pair of glowing red sensors, capable of seeing in infrared, ultraviolet, and night vision. It had no need for weapons, its entire body was a weapon. Dr. Rourke had her doubts about the mission. She had heard the stories, the legends of Bigfoot, and she knew that if the creature existed, it was likely more than just an animal. But orders were orders, and she had no choice but to send Hades into the heart of the forest to track down and capture or eliminate the legendary beast. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the forest floor. Bigfoot stood still, his eyes scanning the tree line. He could hear something approaching, something heavy that moved with purpose. It wasn't the sound of a human, nor was it any animal he had encountered before. The footsteps were too measured, too precise. He crouched low, blending into the foliage, his dark fur allowing him to disappear into the shadows. Then he saw it. A glint of metal in the fading light, the shape of something tall and unnatural moving between the trees. Bigfoot's heart raced. He had faced bears, wolves, even humans with their guns and traps, but this was different. This was something that didn't belong in his forest. Hades stopped in the clearing, its sensors sweeping the area. It detected the heat signature of something large nearby, but its visual sensors couldn't pick up anything in the dense underbrush. The AI calculated the probability of a successful engagement and began to move forward. Bigfoot knew he couldn't hide for long. This machine, whatever it was, would find him eventually. He had no choice but to fight. With a low growl, he sprang from his hiding place, launching himself at the intruder with all the strength and speed he could muster. Hades registered the movement just in time to react. It sidestepped Bigfoot's initial charge, its metallic arms raised in a defensive posture. Bigfoot slammed into the robot, the force of the impact sending both of them crashing to the ground. The forest floor shook with the intensity of their collision. Bigfoot was on his feet first, his powerful arms swinging in a wide arc. He struck Hades with a blow that would have shattered bones in any living creature, but the robot absorbed the hit, its reinforced frame denting slightly but holding firm. Hades retaliated with a swift kick, its legs sweeping out and catching Bigfoot in the ribs, sending him sprawling. The creature roared in pain, but it was not deterred. He was a survivor, a fighter. He had faced death before, and he would not let this intruder take his life so easily. Bigfoot scrambled to his feet, his eyes locked on the glowing red sensors that served as the robot's eyes. The fight between Bigfoot and Hades raged through the forest, each combatant refusing to give an inch. Bigfoot used his knowledge of the terrain to his advantage, moving through the trees with agility that belied his massive size. He struck from the shadows, using the environment to disorient the robot, but Hades' AI adapted quickly, predicting his movements and countering with brutal efficiency. Bigfoot's strength was immense, but Hades was relentless. The robot's metal fists pummeled him with mechanical precision, each blow designed to incapacitate. Bigfoot roared in fury, lashing out with claws that tore through the robot's exterior, exposing wires and circuits beneath. Sparks flew as the AI struggled to maintain control of its damaged systems. The battle took them to the edge of a cliff, the forest dropping away to reveal a rocky gorge below. Bigfoot, battered and bleeding, knew he had to end this now. He couldn't outlast the machine, it would keep coming until he was dead. With a final burst of strength, he lunged at Hades, driving the full weight of his body into the robot's midsection. Hades, caught off guard by the sudden assault, teetered on the edge of the cliff. Its sensors whirred as it tried to calculate a counter, but it was too late. Bigfoot wrapped his arms around the robot, lifting it off the ground, and with a mighty roar, he hurled it over the edge. The robot tumbled down the cliff, its metal frame crashing against the rocks as it fell. Bigfoot watched as Hades disappeared into the darkness below, the sounds of its destruction echoing through the gorge. He stood at the edge, panting heavily, his body bruised and broken but still standing. The forest was silent once more. Bigfoot, his body aching from the battle, turned and began to limp away from the cliff. He had won, but at a great cost. The encounter had left him wounded, and he knew it would take time to heal. But he was alive, and that was what mattered. As he made his way back into the heart of the forest, Bigfoot couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. The machine had been sent by someone, and if they knew he existed, they would likely send others. He had fought off humans before, but this was different. This was a new kind of enemy, one that didn't feel pain or fear, one that couldn't be reasoned with. Back at the lab, Dr. Rourke stared at the blank screens in disbelief. The feed from Hades had cut out abruptly, and the GPS signal was gone. She knew what this meant. The AI had been destroyed. The implications were staggering. A creature had managed to defeat one of the most advanced machines ever built. It was something that shouldn't have been possible. Dr. Rourke knew she had to report the failure, but she also knew that this would only be the beginning. The people funding the project wouldn't stop. They would send more machines, more hunters, until the creature was captured or killed. The legend of Bigfoot had just become a reality, and that reality was more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. Bigfoot continued his journey through the forest, the wounds from his battles slowly beginning to close. He knew his forest well, and he knew how to survive. But he also knew that the world was changing. The machines were coming, and they wouldn't stop until they had taken everything. As the sun began to rise over the mountains, casting long shadows across the forest, Bigfoot paused to look back at the path he had taken. He had faced many dangers in his life, but none like this. The forest was his home, and he would defend it with every last breath. But for the first time, he felt a chill that wasn't from the cold air. It was a chill of uncertainty, of a future that was no longer his to control. The machines were coming, and with them, a new kind of war.